Whoop, there it is. What's up, my dudes? Had to come in here and make a video on the whoops. Whoopsie daisies, boys. Had to make a video here. Got in here and hopped in here and made me a little custom track real quick. This is the Mecha Whoop track right here. Okay. So I just wanted to talk about not only the whoops in this game, but just in all these milestone games in general. And just kind of in all motocross games in general, for that matter. I just feel like the whoops on any kind of a supercross track is where, obviously minus simulators, right? I'm not talking about simulators. Simulators will kick your ass in the whoops, especially MX Simulator. That's like a whole nother level of learning that game, right? But in arcade motocross games, they have just not quite gotten the whoop difficulty, fear, skill gap, whatever the heck you want to call it, to where I feel like it should be. You guys know how it is in 99.99% of whoop sections. It's just you're holding that shit wide open, and that's all there is to it. Sometimes you might have to hold it wide open and lean back, right? But like, you're not going to flip over the bike. You're not going to crash. It's just not going to happen. You can see this is like one of the gnarliest kind of whoop sections you could just about design in this game right here. I tried my hardest to try to make it somewhat as crazy of a big whoops. Like right here, these are two little whoops that jump into the biggest whoop module that you can literally put on a track in this game. And it still feels like there's basically nothing there. The bike's just going over it. It's not, the problem is not so much the whoop size, it's how the suspension reacts, how the physics react to hitting the whoops. It's just your ass end is not going to go side to side. It's not going to get out of shape in the whoops. You're not going to flip over the bars. Even if your front end drops down in a whoop, you're not going to flip over. It's just so like nowhere even close, even for an arcade game. There's just hardly any arcade motocross game out there that really captures the whoop skill gap and difficulty that I feel like it should have. Enough to the point where it's worthy of me coming in here and talking about in a video. I mean, you see this right here, like I mix the sand, small whoop, little whoop, big whoop. It is just still just too easy. It's too easy. That's the problem with the whoops in these games. I feel like not only could they be bigger, but also it has got to start actually affecting the physics of the bike to where it can make the bike get out of shape more. Forcing you to lean forward or backwards. That's where with MX Simulator, it really, has this feeling of like you have to go slow and then get up on top of the whoops, and then it forces you to get on the gas to stay on top of the whoops. Because if you don't, the bike is just going to get all kinds of out of shape or flip over, or the ass end's going to start dancing around, right? Like it does in real life. There's just none of that in these arcade motocross games. And here, still, with the most modern, arcade motocross game out there, here with Supercross 4, it's no different. It's still just basically nothing to the whoops of this game at all. There's really just nothing to it, man. So that's something I really want to see improved. They just have to adjust those ground physics. And this doesn't only apply to whoops, but it also applies to if they ever want to actually start putting hardcore pre-made roughness and pre-made braking bumps or having terrain deformation that really makes roughness in any of these milestone games. You're going to have where, you can have all the roughness in the world, or all the braking bumps, all the whoops in the world that you want to, but if the bike's not going to react from hitting it, if the bike's physics is not going to get out of shape or like turn the ass in left to right or whatever, if you hit them too hard, then do you really have a roughness? Do you really have a roughness, braking bump section on your track? Do you really have a whoop section on your track? Not really. Or in your game, for that matter? Not really. You just don't, man. It's just like, even when I don't even lean, look at this. Yeah, if I don't lean, like my momentum's just going to totally slow down and then eventually get to the point where the bike just flips over. But like, it's not rocket science. You literally hold down the gas and you lean back. All the way back. That's all there is to it. I mean, you can fucking wheel. It's to the point where you can wheelie these entire whoop sections. You can wheelie the whole things, and you're not going to flip over. You're just not. That's not proper skill gap. Even for an arcade game, you should not be able to go into a whoop section and lean back and just fucking ride a wheelie all the way through every single whoop section. Like, you should not be able to do that, dog. Even where these whoops, where I tried to make them like varying sizes to try to make it where it actually kick your ass end up, which it does a little bit more, you know, it kind of kicks your ass just a little bit more, but still not to the point where it's really going to get you out of shape. I just feel like they've made one of the most separating, scary elements to real life Supercross. They've made it one of the most not scary, not fearful, easy elements to these arcade dirt bike games. You know, in Supercross 4, one of the most scary aspects to this game is probably like trying to do like a 3-in rhythm, like a seat bounce to a 3-in rhythm. It's pretty tough to do that, or like certain quads on the track. But I feel like the whoop sections have just not caught up to the times as far as that more skill gappy feeling. That's one element where it's just these shits are just nowhere near where they need to be. Even if you had double the size of whoops, it's going to start getting to where it looks kind of stupid on the track. You know, if you had the whoop scaling like way bigger than any other part of the track, it's just going to look dumb. So you're going to have to make it where it actually affects the physics of the bike. You're going to have to make it to where that shit actually does something to more so on the bike itself to give you more of an actual fun factor, skill gap, replayability to the whoop sections in these games. You're just going to have to, man. I mean, even with Reflex, like, yeah, Reflex, you know, definitely has some kind of skill gap to the whoop section, especially when you start hitting them really hard in that game. Yeah, you can definitely get some kind of a vibe of a skill gap to the whoops on Reflex, but even with Reflex, it's not like a crazy amount of skill gap to the hitting the whoops in that game. You know, a lot of times, even in Reflex, it's just hold the gas wide open and lean back. Lean back. And that's pretty much all there is to it. You can't have something that simple. You know, you got to have more inconsistencies with it. More like, you know, varying characteristics of the physics of the bike, different things that the physics of the bike can sort of randomly do when you go over a whoop section or a rough section or whatever. You got to have way more of that in these games. So either way, I just had to make a video on this. I appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this whole whoop vibe in these arcade motocross games. I just still think they're nowhere near where they need to be on it. But yeah, dog. Either way, you know, you got to have more of that feeling of like, you got to try to get up on top of the whoops and keep yourself on top of the whoops, you know? Like, that's what creates the fear of it. Is it's kind of like you got to be patient, but then also aggressive on whoops. And if you've ever hit a real-ass Supercross whoop section in real life, you will know what the hell I'm talking about. It ain't no sissy shit. You know what I'm saying? It is one of the most, if not the most, separating skill gaps, scary things to a Supercross track out there. I've rode on them before in real life. They're no joke, dog. Whoops is one of those things where it's like, it's a whole nother kind of learning. You know, there's some people can go through their whole careers and never really figure out how to go through a whoop section. Marvin Muscan, you know, some of these other guys, they can never really go very fast through a whoop section. They go through their whole career. I mean, if that don't go to show you something about it, I don't know what does, man. But either way, they got to make these things a little more scary. A little more makes you think about it when you come up to it, like some of the 3-in rhythms where you really got to get the speed. You know, there's no forcing of speed in the whoops to these arcade games. It's not like you have to go a certain speed. You know, you can come through this shit half throttle. You can let off the gas midways through it. You're not going to fall off. And you can get back on the gas and start going through them again. It's just like too easy. Even for an arcade game, it's too easy. These are too easy. So, either way, man, yeah, appreciate you guys watching all the video. Be back on that next one, boys. Later, dudes.